Hey, good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. It is such a pleasure to be with you all for the morning briefing with Friedman Adventures. It's great to be with you all. It's a gorgeous day. I know it looks a little overcast, and it is. It's actually cool down here on the beach this morning. I mean, I could almost use a jacket, but the ocean looks flat, calm, and there is some really good stuff going on in several different locations and some really slow stuff going on, which we'll talk about right now on the morning briefing. First of all, let me take you down to San Jose del Cabo, which is down there near Cabo San Lucas, where my friend Sean Morgan is throwing in the towel on his big, beautiful yacht, the yacht he runs. Sean, of course, ran boats here for 30 years or so. He was with Eddie Leland, and several of you know him. He's down there on a yacht, and he's coming from San Jose del Cabo up here. Let's join Sean for a moment.
I'm coming home, leaving San Jose, bringing the boat home. We'll see everybody soon. Here I come. Guys are baiting up already. It's a beautiful day outside, a little overcast. But we're gonna head up to Ensenada and then see you later.
All right, we wish him safe travels, and maybe we'll do another podcast with Sean when he gets up here. He's always full of funny stuff. All right, my friend Albert Ponce, he's one of the greatest members of the Friedman Adventure family. Has a great family himself, and he's in Ensenada fishing, so we'll be getting some information from Albert later today, and of course I'll fill you all in. And fingers crossed, Albert, that you have a really good day. Suerte down in that neck of the woods. A lot of nice kelp patty fishing going on out of Ensenada. They're still catching bluefin tuna down there, but they're also now adding to it lots of yellows on the kelps, more and more Dorado, and there's a lot of yellowfin that are pushing up the Baja coast down there for the pongueros out of Ensenada. So that is great news. They've got that smorgasbord. They've got that great variety right now, in addition to being able to troll around with the Mad Mac lures and come up with some excellent bluefin tuna fishing at times. Other times, it's a blank. And now, all of a sudden, we've gone from that 20 to 40 pound bluefin tuna to that bigger fish. Or I should say, really, a mix of it, which really is confusing. We ran into that on the Malahini the other day. And if that trip on the Malahini where we caught 0 fish on a Friedman Adventures trip, if it underscored anything, it was that you need to bring the heavy tackle. You just never know. Because up until that point, we were catching mostly 20 to 40 pound bluefin tuna down there in that neck of the woods. And then all of a sudden we got our hands full with these 100+ pound fish. And they were difficult, if not impossible, at least for our guys, to hang on to that day. So make sure you have a variety of tackle. That takes us up to the San Diego fleet, where the boys up there are really doing well. I mean, they are finding kelps, and while sometimes the kelps are few and far between, perhaps there's just scraps here, but as I look up and down the beach, there is so much kelp. What I wouldn't have given for a piece of that to be floating by the Malahini, and the guys burned their eyes out looking for it, and we never found one in the zone we were in. But if you find a kelp, more than likely it's holding. And one thing I've got to tell you is the grade of fish is great. All you got to do is look at the deck of the Condor and see that the grade of Yellowtail is really fantastic. So many times when you're fishing kelp patty yellows, you're talking sometimes 3-5 pound fish. And while we see a few of those 5-pounders, most of this is 8 to 12 pounds with fish to 30 pounds on the kelps. And that is absolutely fantastic. The Daiwa Sakana jig is working great when you roll up on those kelps. Toss that thing out there and it gets bit on the sink or on the retrieve. It's really been a fantastic lure. And if you're fishing iron, nothing less than 40. I prefer 50 pound, just in case you hook a really big beast. You'll be somewhat tackled up. But in addition to that, bring those 2-speed reels with 100 pound and you'll be set in case you run in to that really bigger fish. Some of the scores down there are so impressive, and some of them are indicating to me that we are starting to see more and more of that tropical, subtropical influence that yellowfin that we looked at on the Malahini, that several guys have been looking at, like Sean Hardigan on the Mission Bell. Most of the guys have been looking at it, reluctant to bite in most cases. All show, little bit of go, is starting to become more and more of a go as we go along. And the T-Bird definitely emphasized that with 37 Dorado, which is a nice hit, 39 yellowfin tuna, 54 yellowtail, and that is some good kelp patty fishing, no question about it. Daiwa Pacific, 95 on the yellows, 11 Dorado, grande, limits of yellowtail, 30 Dorado. It doesn't get much better than that. That is some fine kelp patty fishing. A fly line bait with the fluorocarbon is really working well, like 30-pound fluoro. You can go up to 40 in some cases. Sometimes the intensity of these bites is so good that they'll bite anything you throw at them. But we like Opsin, as you well know, www.opsinusa.com. Put FA in at checkout. Greg Brown, the owner, will send you a handwritten note if his little fingers haven't fallen off already, and he'll also send you a free gift. So that bite is looking good. A couple more scores. Pacific Islander, 55 yellowtail, 32 Dorado, 6 yellowfin tuna. Starting to see more and more of that. And the Mustang, 50-plus yellowtail, 6 Dorado. Other scores like that. Ocean Odyssey, my friend Rick had limits of yellowtail. It's rocking down there when you find the right kelp. You miss, don't find a kelp like we did, and then, you're crying on the way home or sleeping on a buoy on the deck like I did. But in most cases right now, it's fired up and biting really, really well. So be tackled up. Don't get lulled into a state of complacency with regard to the grade of fish, which is great, but you can handle most of this stuff with 30 to 50 pound, no problem at all. What I'm saying is, if you have some heavy, bring it, because that bluefin is still scattered everywhere. Somebody put a comment up on YouTube, which I deeply appreciate, and said, bluefin everywhere? And I think maybe there's a little confusion. I'm not saying they're biting everywhere. I'm saying they're spread everywhere. You can find them around Catalina, San Clemente, Santa Barbara, San Nicolas, up in the Channel Islands, down the Baja Coast, out on Tanner Cortez. You can find them just about everywhere, but getting those darn things to bite is a real pain in the neck. No question about that. All right, let me get you to the island situation right now. Take you down there to Todos Santos Island off Ensenada. A lot of barracuda and some good calico bass fishing. Bait is always an issue down there because the bait boats down there feed the tuna in the tuna pens. That's where most of that bait goes. So trying to get some bait sometimes can be a hassle. Sometimes they'll have it at the receivers. Most times they have some. But bringing something like a Lucky Craft lure, such a good idea, and the bass bite has been good. Of course, you just want to throw iron like Tatty 45s at those barracuda, and they will nibble it really, really fast. Some good fishing going on there. Coronado Islands, really good fishing for the San Diego. They had a private charter, and that charter opted to go to the islands where they found outstanding fishing. The grade of yellowtail at the Coronado Islands is great right now. Nice big fish, 15 to 25 pounds. Fly line bait, same thing. Fluorocarbon, 30 pound, 40 pounds. Sometimes when it gets tough, they'll be ready to drop it down to 20 pound to get a bite. And especially when you're fishing bass, you want to drop your line down and choose a good hot bait. We emphasize that over and over and over again, and it is so important. Choosing a good hot bait, soaking that bait for a minute or two, changing that bait if it doesn't get a bite. 73 yellowtail on board the San Diego, 22 calico bass, 14 on the barracuda. Pretty darn good shooting out there at the islands. We rolled through there and found some poor conditions. Those conditions have rectified, and that bite is back on again. Really good fishing. Remember, when you are within 12 miles of the Mexican coast, you have to have a passport. So when you're offshore, no passport. When you're at any kind of land mass, 12 miles from it, from Mexican territory, you got to have a passport. Just wanted to let you know that. All right, San Clemente, Santa Barbara, San Nicolas. We've got some weather problems out, especially at Nick, and that's going to persist off and on. There's some windows of opportunity to get that sea bass hopefully out there, but that is all slowed down due to this weather right now, and also that dumb sea lion problem that we have, where sea lions are not only ripping your baits off, but they're ripping your prize yellowtail off also. But we're gonna have that wind until it looks like about Thursday-ish, and it's off and on. It's not a constant hurricane or anything. but it's breezy. And in some cases, it's way too breezy. But by then and into the weekend, projecting into next week, and if the forecasts are correct, it's going to lay down and be much nicer. Some decent yellowtail sightings at San Clemente Island, and some boats are also catching them. Thunderbird had a handful of yellowtail, barracuda, calico bass. Not setting the world on fire. Nobody really is over there. Amigos, same kind of a situation. Same thing on the Freedom. A few sea bass, a few yellows. All that is the norm right now at those islands. But the wind has created not the best environment to make that all happen. Santa Barbara, Nicholas is going to have some windy, breezy conditions off and on for a few days at least. Catalina Island, not setting the world on fire, but there seems to be a decent amount of yellowtail. I know the Pursuit had some big yellows bouncing around the boat the other day. The Native Sun, Enterprise, all those guys who are over there, freelance, mostly picking away at the bonita, the bass, the barracuda. No huge scores, no wide open bites, but all those guys getting a sample of that, and occasional yellowtail or occasional halibut or sea bass thrown in there. Catalina Island has been very difficult for most of this year, and that means you got to get tough. I prefer, if you had a choice, you walked up to the bait well, you saw a sardine or an anchovy, you go to the anchovy, you fish the lighter line. Now, of course, you don't want to hook one of those big yellows on 15 pound, but if you want action on calico bass and bonita, you're going to choose a hot bait, and you're going to go to fluorocarbon, and you're going to drop it down to 15 pound. And then when your crew or your deckhand, like on the Native Sun, excellent crew, I hear it all the time from people, when they tell you, hey, we're seeing big fish, you want to go to some heavier stuff. Maybe you want to throw a Dean now. Maybe you want to have some 25 pound. You're ready to switch it up. So at least I would say two rods, a 15 and a 25. And there are a few iron fish over there, so you can throw the jig, of course, on the 40 pound. The only way to get it done. Channel Islands, the epicenter of some magnificent white sea bass fishing when we haven't had windy conditions all this year. It truly has been a remarkable bite up there. Those guys have had it locked again this year with tremendous fishing. It's backed off up there also here recently. Not as many sea bass, a few hits here and there, and then some complete misses. But we're dealing with breezy conditions until about midweek, it looks like. And then they're going to have really nice weather. You get into the weekend, and it's going to be gorgeous. So if you happen to have a charter, and they're hard to come by on the Apex Predator boats down there, you're looking good for next weekend. That's one thing that we hope will settle down. Aloha Spirit, 18 guys with a sea bass, a couple of halibut, a mix of calico bass, barracuda, a few of that. And Mirage, 20 guys with a halibut, bunch of rockfish to go along with that. Not bad at all. Stardust up there out of Santa Barbara with good rock fishing in that neck of the woods. Take you to the coast now, and we'll start you out down in Ensenada, where they've got barracuda frolicking along the coastline there around University Point, Punta Banda area, La Bufadora, all that beautiful Baja rugged coastline producing excellent calico bass fishing. You can get in there with your plastics, with your hard baits. Man, I'll tell you, it's some fun fishing. You go in there with those hookup baits, that works really, really well. You go in there with surface iron, also a very good way to get a bite. There's some excellent calico bass fishing. One of my favorite places to catch calico bass, because not only is it very productive, but it's very picturesque. It's gorgeous there in that neck of the woods. You can jump on a boat with my friend Arnie Mann. Arnie Mann, you can find him on Facebook, or my friend Diego Nuno. He's got a Ponga operation now. He's the deckhand on the Royal Star, but he also has a guy running his boat while he's on the Star out of Ensenada. And Diego Nuno, also another great guy on Facebook. It's Costa Baja Sport Fishing. Costa Baja Sport Fishing, if you want to find those guys. Elsewhere, up and down the coast, probably the best areas up there in Ventura, which I'll get to in a moment. But we're catching rockfish as we move toward August, which is weird, huh? I mean, I knew this was a La Nina year. I thought there'd be albacore. I've blown that one so far. We still have time on that. It's going like, you know, a plane that's crashing at this point in time, that prediction. But, you know, I mean, rockfish in July? Well, it happens in some years, and we see a lot of that. Sculpin, rockfish, that kind of thing. They're great eating, provide excellent table fare. Nothing wrong with that. So that's good. But we'd love to see some bass and barracuda and yellows along the coast, and maybe it's going to be a fall thing. I remember when I was a kid going to Bishop Montgomery High School in Torrance, and I was working out of Redondo on the boats there. It was a fall thing. It was September before we even thought about catching a yellowtail there. So maybe it's going to be that kind of a thing. We did see the Redondo special with the white sea bass and 15 calico bass, Marina del Rey, with lots of rockfish. Okay, bass fishing at night on the Monte Carlo on their twilight fishing, but the Island Spirit had really great fishing again, and they are all over the Gar up there out of Ventura Sport Fishing. Incidentally, Ventura Sport Fishing, I mentioned it's hard to get on a charter. It's almost impossible on board the Endeavor, and Cody on the Island Spirit, Cody Rogers, doing a great job on the Barracuda. 35 guys, 163 Gar. Probably the best Barracuda bite going on up and down the coast right now. He's been all over it for several days. He's a great captain, got a great crew. I fished on there and we had an absolutely wonderful time. And once again, iron. Bait's a pain in the neck. You get bit off too often, and iron is very productive. Gar, Barracuda, love to bite on the iron. So that is what I would highly recommend you do. All right, we've got a live show coming up Tuesday night, don't we? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we've got Mauricio Lopez, who's the captain of the Clemente down there at Dana Wharf Sport Fishing. He'll be coming up to 22nd Street Landing for our live broadcast. So you'll be able to ask him about that local Dorado that he caught, ask him what he thinks is going to happen as the season goes on, learn a little bit more about Mauricio, find out how he got started, and of course, he's going to be loaded up with tackle tips for you. You'll be able to participate, send your questions in, and meet this really nice, fine young man, Mauricio Lopez, Tuesday Night Live. All right, my friends, as always, it's a pleasure. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of water, whatever. Doesn't matter, as long as you're enjoying the morning briefing right here on Friedman Adventures. As always, our statistics are growing. Thousands of you tuning in the morning briefing every morning. I deeply appreciate it and can't thank you enough. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you again really, really soon.